Hey y'all, it's Mamaw. Welcome to the porch. I wanted to have a little discussion with all y'all because we're really growing. It's a great movement. I try to answer everybody. It's hard. Some of you I don't get a chance to answer, and I do apologize, but I try to answer everybody. I started this as a movement for people who felt that they didn't have a voice, or they felt disappeared, or they felt isolated, that nobody else thought the way they did. What I'm not going to tolerate are outright trolls. Now, I get a lot of bots on there, and I know how to do those, and I eliminate them. I am progressive. That's what I am, because I truly believe, and with my upbringing and my service, we're supposed to take care of each other, and there's nothing wrong with helping out another human being. And I understand that a rising tide lifts all ships. It's not a, I get less if you get more. That's not how things work. It's not. What I'm not going to tolerate are people that get on, they pick on other viewers that I have, saying nasty things, or people trying to bait me into an argument. If you genuinely have questions, or where did you get that information, or I didn't know that, I need to know more, I'm more than glad to engage. You start getting snarky and calling people demo rats and lunatics and that kind of thing, I'm not going to argue with you, because I'm not going to engage in a battle of the wits with people who are totally unarmed, because your responses totally tells me you have nothing up there. All you can do is regurgitate your Fox noise talking points, and you have no idea what you're talking about. So here's the deal. You come on, and if I hear anybody being disrespectful of anybody else that lives on the porch, you out of here. You think you're going to be snotty with Mamaw? Nah, I don't get down in the mud with pigs. You're off the porch. Period. End of subject. Ain't arguing with a fool. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think a lot of people really understand how Congress today works. So I'm going to give you a really quick primer. In the Senate, the filibuster. Back in the old days, and people watched Jimmy Stewart when, he went to Washington and all this. In the old days, if you were going to filibuster, you had to stand up in the well of Congress, and that's what they call the floor at the bottom, and you had to talk until you couldn't talk anymore and pass the ball, and then finally it was over. Now, because they're lazy and they get paid very well, and hell, they're all millionaires anyway in the Senate. Now, all they have to do is file a piece of paper that says, I'm going to filibuster. And then it takes 60 votes to break the filibuster. That's how that works. They don't make them stand up and talk anymore. They don't make them do anything. Now, what Cory Booker did, Senator Booker, was he was just trying to tie up the floor. That's totally different than this filibuster that we're talking about. So I'm going to filibuster. The other thing that we did in Congress and the Senate, it used to be in the old days, they all had to meet, and they all had to sit on their butts, and they had to listen to each other argue, which is how it should be. But then big money got into play, so now they have to be on the phone to donors and getting people to play, and they got to run and get in front of a TV camera. So if you ever get a chance to watch C-SPAN, a lot of times these guys giving these eloquent speeches on the floor, they're there by themselves. There's not a damn person there. They're just doing it for the camera. Because now they can just kind of walk down the hall, hop in and vote. They got a time frame, they got to vote, and they just run in and vote and take off and they go find a camera. So they're not even sitting in there really having a good, robust debate and argument. One of the jobs of the sergeant at arms in the old days was to literally lock them in chambers until they got things resolved. There's a lot to be said for the old days. So when people are saying, oh, it's the Democrats' fault, no. Senator John Thune has the full authority to break the filibuster. All he has to do is call his caucus together And by a simple majority, and there's 3 Democrats that are voting with him, by the way, by a simple majority, do away with the filibuster, and then he can push this thing through any way he wants. So it's very disingenuous for them to be saying, oh, it's the Democrats, they won't work with us. Nah, they're trying to pass that dirty squeaky pig I told you that was in the mud. They don't want to take that on. Now, we tried to break it, by we, I mean the Democrats, back to get the Voting Rights Act through, but Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin were unwilling to break the filibuster. And so we couldn't get the votes to get that broke. But Thune's got them. Thune could get it through, but then they solely are responsible for this damn mess. Keep in mind the last time that the government shut down for 35 days, it was under Donald J. Trump. He and Taco are one and the same. And he's just so excited because now he's going to lay a bunch of people off. Our economy is crashing. You people that are still supporting the taco, or say you voted for the taco because you didn't like the price of eggs, let me tell you, it's crashing as fast as it can go. The government employs a lot of people. It is not waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, the government's very efficient at a lot of things. There's not enough jobs out there to be absorbed by our regular industry or employers. And he thinks it's funny. Just like the other day, in his little lizard mind, he thinks it's fine to use soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines as his little play toys. Oh, I'm a little boy and these are my play toys, so I'm just going to take them over here to Portland, and if you don't like me, I'm going to get rid of you. Well, a lot of us don't like you, Taco. You cannot beat people into submission. You cannot beat people into believing the way you do. What you do is show kindness, bring them in, and let them see that your way is inclusive and better than that way. Because eventually, somebody will take that bludgeon away from you. That's how that works. So, I'm not putting up with nonsense on my page. It is my page. I'll throw your ass off if I want to. It's not a public forum. And people get on there thinking, well, it's public, I'll say what I want. No. I'm out here to share information that I research really well. I'm here to share ideas, to get ideas from you, to give you ideas. I'm here to give you a safe space to vent off if you want to, or to do other things like that. If you have a genuine, bona fide disagreement, that's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. But if you think you're going to get on my site and troll at people or say stupid shit, ain't happening. Is not happening. That is not my brand. That is not what Mamaw's all about. And then I really want you to understand why we're in the mess we're in. Now, I talked about John Thune and what the Senate's doing. Now let's talk about Congress. So you have the Speaker of the House, which is, by many accounts, the second most powerful position in the government. You got the President, you got the Speaker of the House, and the third, if you believe in co-equal branches of government, would be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But we're going to go Speaker of the House. That chicken shit takes off. He just tucked his tail and ran rather than to deal with the taco. I can't think of any other speaker that completely usurped their authority the way he has. Number 2, he's refusing to swear in someone who was duly elected. So they're already messing with elections. This woman was duly elected to Congress. She has a right to be sworn in. Now he's trying to pull Mitch McConnell and say, oh, well, we can't swear in if Congress is recessed. Well, it appears that only the Republicans are on recess because the Democrats are there trying to work. So that isn't going to fly. The reason he doesn't want to swear her in is she will be the vote that gets the Epstein files released. And if you don't think that's a big deal, today on a podcast, the Secretary of Commerce, it was yesterday, the Secretary of Commerce was on a podcast talking about how Epstein would apply you with alcohol and then have you get a massage, and then you realize that he'd videoed the whole thing, and it's like, yeah. So I think there's a whole bunch of people that are on there that don't want to be exposed. And I've had people get on my site and say, oh, well, there's Democrats on there. You know what? They need to go too. I'm sorry. This is not about a party. This is not an us or them. This is the law, and this is pedophiles. These were girls. They may have had a woman's body. They didn't have a grown-up's brain. And there is no way in hell that 40, 50, and 60-year-old men ought to be boinking teenagers. Period. Hate to be crude. That's it. That's against the law, and it's creepy. And they need to be exposed. The women that were protecting them need to be exposed. And Blondie Pam Bondi needs to do her job or get the hell out, because history is not going to be kind. History is not going to be kind about any of this. You want to be on the right side of history. Sherry, I am really sorry about your job. Yeah, Taco wants to make a big thing. Now his blackmail scheme is, okay, if you don't play ball and let us do what we want, we're going to lay these people off. Well, we'll see. He might for a little while. It isn't going to be that easy. So I want all of you to stay salty. Remember how we got on the phones and called them congressmen and senators? We got to do it again and drive them crazy. And by the way, they're still pulling a paycheck, even though my government workers aren't. They're still pulling a paycheck while they've shut everything down. And I think their paychecks ought to be tied to all this bullcrap too, because a lot of them are living check to check because they've got to pay for apartments and stuff in D.C. So, just wanted to jump on here. Don't want to hear any whining. Oh, she kicked me off. No, you were told. You were told. I ain't going to put up with your nonsense. So, I want you all to stay salty. Call your congressmen and senators. I love y'all. If you like what you hear here on Mamaw's Porch, please share it with all your friends, because the more people that we energize to show up, the more chance we have of taking our country back. And by golly, that's what we're going to do. If you need to come on here and just vent or talk or ask questions, that's what we're all here for, and we'll help each other out. So I'll talk to you later. I'm going to get ready to fly out to Idaho. I got to catch a really early flight. And hopefully we'll be able to put that on live stream. Love y'all. Love all of you that jumped on here. Bye-bye.